Okay, here we are, week 2, and like I said, there's some exciting stuff this week, so be prepared. Okay, so we finished the first week, second week, Monday, FHE, it's the 13th. And, we'd had a few interactions the week before, and I felt really bad about what I had done about lying to you that I was at work and hanging up on you. So I was like, oh, hopefully he'll be at FEG and I can, continue to mend the situation that I had screwed up. And so I get to FHE, and it was the night that we planted the pots in Burley, and you had your truck, and Brother Beck you had a trailer, and you were gonna take flowers and be in charge of a group. And so I was like, oh frick yeah! Like I walked in the door, you were right there. Rico and I were talking to you, and I was like, I'm gonna get put in his group, and I'm gonna mend this. I'm gonna fix it. Well, Brother Beck goes, Abby, why don't you come over here to this group? And I was like, inside, I was like, no, yeah. On the outside, of course, I was like, yeah, Brother Beck, whatever. But I was really kind of mad because I was like, crap, when am I going to do this? And so you and your group leave with like Kevin and Rico and a few other people, and I was pretty mad about it because there were some other girls in your group. And then I actually ended up having to stay behind and help with the food, but I was like, when he gets back, I'll go like try and go sit over and eat dinner by him and kind of talk to him. Well, after I was done cooking the food, you guys had all kind of already eaten, but you were just sitting at like a table, and it was like all girls. There was a ton of girls there. And I walked in there and I saw that, and I was like, oh, crap. Like, I'm a nobody. And I was like, he straight up ignored me. Like, you didn't even look my way the rest of the night. And you didn't do that on purpose, I'm sure. But like, to me, I was like, oh, dang it, I ruined my chance. Like, you were with all these other girls, everybody was laughing at haha Slade Beck, and I was like, oh, great. And so after that, I was like, well, it's over. Like, he doesn't like me, whatever. And so that was the worst FHE of my entire life. I hope you know. Thank you for that. Thank you for ignoring me. Just kidding. Yeah, that was my fault. But I was kind of upset after that. And I thought I had just done it myself in. Well, come Wednesday, our usual bonfire, you show up again. And I was like, ooh, he's here again. But I was like, but he doesn't like me because he likes all these other girls. But as you can see here, I drew a fire. And this fire says, hut, hut, hut. It's because things went well this night. All of our friends were kind of up closer to the fire, and I would always bring my blanket and just kind of like stay further away from the fire. So I was back, and I was just like wrapped up in my blanket, and I wasn't up on the couch with everyone else because I didn't like how everybody would all sit on the couch. I just thought it was gross, and so I stayed back. Anyway, guess who stayed back with me? You did! You stayed back. And I thought that was so impressive. I remember being very impressed by that because, like, you were more interested in getting to know me than being cool in front of other people. Like, a lot of people would have been like, oh, I need to go impress that group of people. I need to be up there. But you stayed back and talked to me, which I think was honestly one of my first, like, very strong impressions that you were a very good person. Because after that night when I went home and I thought about that more, it really hit me that, like, you were interested in me and not necessarily being cool or being, in our friend group. And so I was really impressed by that night. And you talked to me about your trip to Chicago that night. You showed me a bunch of pictures, and you were talking about the art museum and how you were into art. And then you were talking about musicals, and I was like, who is this boy? Like, he flies drones, he likes art, and I remember I showed you a picture of this sculpture that I really like. It's the grandfather clock that looks like it has a sheet over it, but it's all like the same piece of wood. Anyway, you were like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I remember like the first 2 bonfire nights, I forgot to say this, but I remember that you would laugh so hard at what I said. And I was kind of like, I'm not that funny. Like, I remember being like, this boy is trying so hard because I am not that funny. Like, yeah, I'm funny, but you would laugh so hard at whatever I said. And I was like, this boy is trying so hard. But it wasn't until I got to know you more that I realized that, like, you literally weren't trying hard. Like, that's just how you are. You just laugh loud and you are funny. And I just remember that I was kind of like, why does this kid laugh so loud at what I say? But it's just who you are, and I love that. I love that you laugh at things and you think people are funny and you try and make them feel important, which this night you really did. You made me feel so different and special because you just stayed back and you talked to me for a long time too. We talked for a long time. And this is actually our first documented picture together was that night. I don't have it pulled up. I should have pulled it up. But we all took a picture with our friends on the couch, and I took some pictures of you guys on the couch. And I remember like looking at those pictures and being like, he's cute. He's super cute. And I think I like him. I really like him. I went home that night and I was like, this is an interesting boy and there's a lot to him that I want to get to know. And so this was the kind of the big point, turning point for me. And at the end, we were all cleaning up, and at the end, you came up to me, and I also was very impressed by this. I was standing with like our group of friends, and you just walked up and you're like, Abby, would you like to go on a date with me? And I was kind of shocked because like most people wouldn't do that in front of other people, but you just like didn't have any care in the world. You just like wanted to ask me on a date, and you didn't care who saw, and you asked me on a date. And I was like, yeah, sure. But before we could set up a time, we got interrupted by something. I don't remember what happened, but something happened and we didn't set up a time, but you asked me on a date. And then we left and we didn't pick a date or anything. And I remember being like, oh, that's a bummer. Like, I was actually excited to go on a date with you after that night. Anyway, so that was a good night. I loved that night. And it just will be forever burned in my memory when you stayed behind to talk to me, and you were just asking me very personal questions, and you were so interested in my answers and the things I had to say that you just made me feel super special and very important, and I really liked that. And then this day, I'm sorry, this video's long, but that is a special day for me, so I had to say that. This day, Rico's pool party, the 12th of May. As you can see here, I put #awkward. Because this is when the most epic month of my entire dating life all came crashing together. Because Rico has this pool party, and I was texting Brody, and I invited Brody to the pool party, and he was like, yeah, I'll totally be there. And then Logan was like, Abs, are you gonna go to the pool party? I should pick you up, blah, 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 doing like his Logan thing, trying to whatever. And then in the Adventure Crew text, you'd been added to it, and Rico says, who's all coming? And you're like, I'm in. And I was like, oh my gosh, all of my dating worlds are colliding. I was like, this is gonna be a disaster. I was freaking out. I called Rico and I was like, Rico, this is gonna be a disaster. And he's like, Abby, you're such a player. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not a player. But like, all of a sudden there's all these people, and I was like freaking out about it. Anyway, good things happened, and actually Brody couldn't come last second. But the whole day, I was like, this is going to be the most awkward thing of my life. Like, it's going to be awful. And it actually turned out to be super fun. And I just remember, like, Logan was, like, trying to, like, mess with me and, like, was pushing me in the water or whatever. And I was, like, kind of sick of it. But you were just off in the corner, like, that little pole, you know, that goes down the steps. You were, like, dancing around it, and you were just doing the goofiest stuff, and it was just so funny because you really didn't know any of us, but you were just there having a good time, just loving it. And at the end, I was sitting up by the edge of the pool, and I remember you came up and you sat down, and for quite most of the night we would talk and just kind of interact with each other, and I was super excited when you would come and sit by me, and it was just the same as that Wednesday night bonfire. Like you sat and talked to me, and they were important conversations, and you challenged me, you made me have to be witty, and I just loved it. And so that was the day that all of my dating worlds all like collided. But it was okay because you came out victorious. I was definitely the most interested in you by that time, and so good work. This was a good week for you. This was really good, besides when you ignored me. But the end of the week was really good for you. Very good. So, there's that week. Okay, sorry these are so long.